The House will come to order. Will all those present in the chamber who are able, please stand for the presentation of the colors by the Colorado National Guard, and please remain standing while the colors are posted.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Present, halt. Order, halt. Ready? Step. Guard, hey. Forward, halt.
Members, please join me in thanking the members of the Colorado National Guard for presenting our colors. Army Lieutenant. Army Lieutenant Leland Levin, Army Lieutenant David Gorman, Army Lieutenant William Keenan, and Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Andy Gold. I also want to extend our thanks to our singer, 7th grade McKinley Holden of Cherry Hills Christian School, Cherry Hills, guest of Minority Leader Puglisi. I would now like to invite all of our legislators who have served in the military to come down to the well and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We are grateful to members of the Veterans Caucus for today's pledge. Mr. Schiebel, please call the roll. Please take your seats.
Representatives Armagost, Bacon, Barone, Byrd, Basenecker, Bottoms, Bradfield, Bradley, Brooks,
Present.
Brown, Caldwell, Camacho, Carter, Clifford, DeGraff, Duran, English, Espinoza, Foray, Froelich, Representative Froelich,
Excused.
Garcia, Garcia Sander, Gilchrist, Gonzalez, Hamrick, Hartsook, Jackson, Johnson, Joseph, Kelty, Representative Kelty, Leader, Lindsay, Linstead, Luck, Lukens, Mabry, Representative Mabry,
Excused.
Marshall, Representative Marshall,
Excused.
Martinez, Morrow, McCormick, Pascal, Phillips, Puglisi, Richardson, Ricks, Rootnell, Representative Rootnell,
Excused.
Ryden, Sirota, Smith, Rep. Soper is excused. Stewart K. Stewart R. Story. Sukla. Taggart. Titone. Valdez A. Velasco. Weinberg. Representative Weinberg. Wilford. Winter. Woodrow. Woog. Rep. Zokai is excused, and Madam Speaker.
Here. With 61 present and 4 excused, we do have a quorum. Representative Camacho.
Good morning, Madam Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. It is a pleasure to serve with you.
It is a pleasure to serve with you.
Colleagues, friends, distinguished guests in the chamber, we have reached Friday. our movement of bad joke, dad joke in HD6 has come to its conclusion. And I'd like to mark the occasion just by making some observations. While we all sit here in the people's house sits in my house, House District 6. And in House District 6, one of the great neighborhoods is Cap Hill. And a resident of Cap Hill, in honor of our veterans today, have submitted a slight tweak to Bad Joke, Dad Joke Day with a Chuck Norris joke. So this is out to Ben Tobias from Cap Hill, who is watching on the Colorado Channel. If it looks like chicken, tastes like chicken, but Chuck Norris says it's beef, then it's beef. And to all my colleagues, before we leave for this weekend, as a proud Coloradan and Bronco fan, I'd like to say, fly, Eagles, fly, beat the Chiefs. Madam Speaker, I move that the Journal of Thursday, February 6, 2025 be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk.
Members, you have heard the motion that the journal be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Members, please take your seats. We are ready to proceed to business.
No chatting.
Thank you for your attention in the chamber. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to proceed out of order for the consideration of resolutions.
Thank you, Madam Majority Leader. One more time, members, please take your seats. I will ask all conversations to move off the floor. We are proceeding to business. Please proceed, Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, each resolution will be read by title, moved by the House sponsors, and a short description will be read. We will then take a recorded vote and ask for co-sponsors on each resolution. We will do this for all 11 resolutions. Once we finish taking action on the resolutions, we will recess to allow comments from the House and Senate prime sponsors of the resolutions. Though we will be in recess, please remain in the chamber. While the prime sponsors are speaking on resolutions, we are asking you to please limit remarks to 5 minutes to ensure our program continues in a timely manner while our esteemed guests are present. To begin, we have a short video prepared by the Veterans Caucus. After the video plays, Mr. Schiebel will read the title of our first resolution. Thank you, everyone.
Members, seeing no objection, we will proceed out of order for consideration of resolutions.
I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me, according to the regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice, so help me God.
That was lovely. Such an honor to serve with all of you. We will now proceed through our resolutions. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Joint Resolution 1010.
House Joint Resolution 1010 by Representatives Camacho and Caldwell, also Senators Rich and Michelson Janae, concerning recognition of military veterans and POW MIA Appreciation Day.
Representatives Camacho and Caldwell.
Madam Speaker, I move for the adoption of House Joint Resolution 25-1010 and ask for the short description to be read.
Mr. Schiebel.
Be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 75th General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the Senate concurring herein, that we, the members of the General Assembly, are committed to honoring, supporting, and paying tribute to those who have made great sacrifices. We recognize the rich military history of Colorado, alongside the notable contributions of its service members, underscores the presence of diverse military installations in the state, along with the more than 47,000 active duty personnel, veterans, and their families. As an assembly, we are dedicated to addressing our servicemen and women, our veterans, our POW MIAs, and their families, extending to them our sincerest gratitude, support, and prayers.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption of House Joint Resolution 1010. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Brooks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Brooks votes yes. Garcia, Woodrow. Woodrow is excused. Please close the machine. With 60 ayes, 0 no, and 5 excused, House Joint Resolution 1010 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Brooks, co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Thank you, members. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Joint Resolution 1011.
House Joint Resolution 1011 by Representatives Martinez and Armagost, also Senators Kirkmeyer and Ball, concerning honoring Gold Star families.
Representatives Martinez and Armagost.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the adoption of House Joint Resolution 25-1011, and ask a short description be read.
Mr. Schiebel.
Be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 75th General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the Senate concurring herein, that we, the members of the General Assembly, commit to the recognition of Gold Star families that serve as a living legacy, helping us remember and honor fallen soldiers by name. Recognize that Gold Star families originated from the tradition of hanging service banners with stars in windows, where gold stars replaced blue ones for fallen members. Recognize over 1 million American soldiers who have died in battle and military conflicts since the Revolutionary War, and the families who have lost loved ones in service. The Colorado General Assembly acknowledges the pride and pain of Gold Star families, expressing profound gratitude and respect.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption of House Joint Resolution. Yes, members, we will be speaking to all the resolutions once we have adopted them here through our voting procedures. Seeing no further discussion, the motion is for the adoption of House Joint Resolution 1011. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Brooks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Brooks votes yes. Representative Brown? Please close the machine. With 61 ayes, 0 no, and 4 excused, House Joint Resolution 1011 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Brooks, co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Joint Resolution 1012.
House Joint Resolution 1012 by Representatives Martinez and Luck, also Senators Pelton, R., and Hinrichsen, concerning the 75th anniversary of the capture of the USS Pueblo by North Korea.
Representatives Martinez and Luck.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We move for the adoption of House Joint Resolution 251012 and ask that the short description be read.
Mr. Schiebel.
Be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 75th General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the Senate concurring herein, that we, the members of the General Assembly, commit to honor the service of the U.S. Navy ship USS Pueblo, named in honor of the city of Pueblo, Colorado, that was captured by North Korean forces in 1968. Recognize the sacrifice of Navy fireman Dwayne Hodges, who was killed defending his ship, as well as the suffering of the 82-person crew during 11 months of captivity in North Korea, and address the continued captivity of USS Pueblo in North Korea, and continue to call for the return of the USS Pueblo to the United States.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption of House Joint Resolution 1012. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Brooks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Brooks votes yes. Representative Taggart? Please close the machine. With 61 ayes, 0 no, and 4 excused, House Joint Resolution 1012 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Brooks, co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Joint Resolution 1013.
House Joint Resolution 1013 by Representatives Carter and Kelty, also Senators Frizzell and Marchman, concerning honoring Colorado veterans on the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II.
Representatives Carter and Kelty.
Madam Speaker, I move for the adoption of House Joint Resolution 25-1013 and ask for the short description to be read.
Mr. Schiebel.
Be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 75th General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the Senate concurring herein, that we, the members of the General Assembly, commit to honoring the service and sacrifices of members of the greatest generation who witnessed horrors the world has scarcely seen since. Recognize the over 250,000 Coloradans who served in World War II from 1941 to 1945, and the nearly 3,600 who gave their lives that others might live freely. And address the ongoing challenges veterans of World War II and all wars and conflicts experience when they conclude their service and reintegrate into civilian life.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption of House Joint Resolution 1013. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Brooks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Brooks votes yes. Please close the machine. With 61 ayes, 0 no, and 4 excused, House Joint Resolution 1013 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Brooks, co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Schiebel, Please read the title to House Joint Resolution 1014.
House Joint Resolution 1014 by Representatives Carter and Richardson, also Senators Catlin and Mullica, concerning recognition and remembrance of Colorado military veterans who served in the Vietnam War.
Representatives Carter and Richardson.
Madam Speaker, I move for the adoption of House H.R. 25-1014 and ask for the short description to be read.
Mr. Shebel.
Be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 75th General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the Senate concurring herein, that we, the members of the General Assembly, recognize that Vietnam veterans did not receive the warm welcome home they deserved and experienced unprecedented health issues as a result of exposure to Agent Orange and other various herbicides and defoliation chemicals. Express our appreciation for the fortitude of Colorado veterans, their activism on behalf of fellow veterans, their patriotism, their accomplishments and contributions, and the leadership they have shown their families, community organizations, and the state. And encourage all Coloradans to remember the sacrifices made by Vietnam War veterans and the burdens they and their families continue to bear.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption of House Joint Resolution 1014. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Brooks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Brooks votes yes. Please close the machine. Oh, Representative Brown. Please close the machine. With 61 ayes, 0 no, and 4 excused, House Joint Resolution 1014 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Brooks, co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Joint Resolution 1015.
House Joint Resolution 1015 by Representatives Kelty and Martinez, also Senators Cutter and Frizzell, concerning honoring Korean War veterans.
Representatives Kelty and Martinez.
Madam Speaker, I move for the adoption of the first resolution, House Joint Resolution 25-1015, and ask for the short description to be read.
Mr. Shebel.
The brave men and women who fought for America in the Korean War from 1950 to 1953 displayed extraordinary courage, love of country, and an unwavering commitment to freedom. Among them were many from Colorado who played a vital role, demonstrating resilience and valor in some of the war's toughest battles. Units like the 40th Infantry Division, which included many Coloradans, fought with distinction, resilience, and dedication in brutal conditions and overwhelming odds. From the Puget Perimeter and Incheon Landing to the freezing hell of the Chosin Reservoir to defend South Korea from communist aggression and relentless enemy forces. Their sacrifices helped preserve South Korea's independence and reinforced America's dedication to protecting democracy and freedom worldwide. Although this war is named the Forgotten War, their heroism, driven by a deep love for their country and the ideals of freedom, will never be forgotten.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption of House Joint Resolution 1015. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Brooks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Brooks votes yes. Please close the machine. With 61 ayes, 0 no, and 4 excused, House Joint Resolution 1015 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Brooks, co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Joint Resolution 1016.
House Joint Resolution 1016 by Representatives Camacho and Hartsook, also Senators Pelton B. and Snyder, concerning recognition and remembrance of Colorado military veterans who served in the Persian Gulf War.
Representatives Camacho and Hartsook.
Madam Speaker, I move for the adoption of Resolution 25-1016 and request, we already read it, so we're good. Request for its adoption.
Mr.
Request the
Sheep.
short title be read.
Thank you, Representative Hartsook. Mr. Shebel.
Be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 75th General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the Senate concurring herein, that we, the members of the General Assembly, commit to honoring the service of those who served in the Gulf War. We recognize the sacrifice of the 143 members of the United States Armed Forces, including 3 Coloradans who were killed in action over the course of the Persian Gulf War. And we express our heartfelt gratitude to those who served and sympathy to the families of fallen members.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption of House Joint Resolution 1016. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Brooks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Brooks votes yes. Please close the machine. With 61 aye, 4 excused, House Joint Resolution 1016 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Brooks, co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Joint Resolution 1017.
House Joint Resolution 1017 by Representatives Ferre and Kelty, also Senators Carson and Roberts, concerning honoring the 10th Mountain Division of Colorado.
Representatives Ferre and Kelty.
Madam Speaker, I move for the adoption of House Joint Resolution 25-1017 and ask for the short description to be read.
Mr. Shebel.
80 years ago, almost to this day, under the cloak of darkness on a frigid February night, soldiers of the 10th Mountain Division embarked on a perilous ascent up the icy 2,000-foot cliffs of the Italian Alps. On February 18, 1945, carrying 55-pound packs, weapons, and gear, they scaled the treacherous terrain in complete silence. The Germans, caught off guard, were swiftly overwhelmed as the 10th seized control of this strategic position and secured a pivotal victory that hastened the end of World War II in Europe. The roots of this extraordinary unit trace back to Camp Hale, located outside Leadville, Colorado, where starting in 1942, the 10th Mountain Division trained rigorously in mountain warfare. Today, we honor the legacy of the 10th Mountain Division, their historic triumphs, their contributions to Colorado's outdoor heritage, and their ongoing commitment to service. We express our gratitude to the descendants and stewards who have joined us today and recognize their instrumental role in keeping the memory and legacy of the 10th Mountain Division alive to this day.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption of House Joint Resolution 1017. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Brooks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Brooks votes yes. Please close the machine. With 61 ayes, 0 no, 4 excused, the resolution is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Brooks, co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Joint Resolution 1018.
House Joint Resolution 1018 by Representatives Martinez and Barone, also Senators Rodriguez and Gonzalez, concerning recognition of the contributions of Latina and Latino veterans.
Representatives Barone and Martinez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the adoption of Resolution 1018 and ask for the short description to be read.
Mr. Shebel.
Be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 75th General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the Senate concurring herein, that we, the members of the General Assembly, commit to honoring the historic contributions of Hispanic, Latina and Latino, Chicana and Chicano veterans to the U.S. military. We recognize the sacrifices of Hispanic, Latina and Latino, Chicana and Chicano veterans and their families, and we address the continuing needs of Hispanic, Latina, Latino, Chicana and Chicano veterans and their families.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption of House Joint Resolution 1018. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Brooks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Brooks votes yes. Gilchrist. Please close the machine. With 61 ayes, 0 no, and 4 excused, House Joint Resolution 1018 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Brooks, co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Joint Resolution 1019.
House Joint Resolution 1019 by Representatives Duran and Sukla, also Senators Balt and Simpson, concerning honoring and recognizing the military service and contributions of Native American veterans and communities.
Majority Leader Duran and Representative Sukla.
Madam Speaker, I move for the adoption of House Joint Resolution 1019 and ask for the short description to be read.
Mr. Shebel.
Be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 75th General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the Senate concurring herein, that we, the members of the General Assembly, honor the disproportionately high military service, sacrifice, and patriotism of Native American veterans, that we recognize the indispensable contributions of Native Americans in advancing United States interests, military successes, and global stability, often as the United States government failed to fulfill its federal trust responsibility and protect tribal treaty rights, lands, and resources. And that we commit to addressing the unique hardships and inequities faced by Native American veterans, service members, and Gold Star families, as well as upholding our nation's solemn responsibilities to support the indigenous communities and tribes that continue to serve our country as they have since our nation's founding.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption of House Joint Resolution 1019. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Brooks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Brooks votes yes. Representative Ricks? Please close the machine. With 61 ayes, 0 no, and 4 excused, House Joint Resolution 1019 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Brooks, co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Joint Resolution 1020.
House Joint Resolution 1020 by Representatives English and Carter, also Senators Exum and Coleman, concerning recognition of African American veterans.
Representatives English and Carter. Representative English.
Madam Speaker, I move for the adoption of House Joint Resolution 1020 and ask for the short description to be read.
Mr. Shebel.
House Joint Resolution 1020 acknowledges the significant contributions and sacrifices of African American veterans throughout U.S. history, highlighting their service in every military conflict despite facing segregation and discrimination. These brave individuals fought not only for their country, but also for equality and recognition, laying the groundwork for the civil rights movement. The resolution calls for equitable access to benefits and health care for African American veterans and encourages educational initiatives to celebrate their stories. It emphasizes the importance of recognizing their valor and perseverance during Black History Month and beyond. Ultimately, it seeks to honor their legacy and ensure that their contributions are remembered and celebrated for future generations.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption of House Joint Resolution 1020. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Brooks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Brooks votes yes. Please close the machine. With 61 ayes, 0 no, and 4 excused, House Joint Resolution 1020 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Brooks, co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Members, we will now go into recess so that both our House and Senate prime sponsors may speak to each of these resolutions. We are asking for sponsors to limit their remarks to approximately 5 minutes. I do want to take just a couple of minutes to allow our friends from the Senate to find a seat in the chamber next to a House member. So we will begin in approximately 3 to 5 minutes. The House will stand in recess. Members, please take your seats. We are ready to begin. Thank you again, members. Members, we are ready to begin. Please take your seats. I'd like to invite the prime sponsors, both House and Senate, of Military Appreciation Day, House Joint Resolution 1010, to the well. Who would like to begin? Representative Camacho.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, colleagues. It is such a distinct honor to sponsor this resolution. Today, we stand together in the honor of the brave American soldiers throughout our country's history who endured captivity as prisoners of war, those who remain missing in action. These heroes sacrificed their freedom and service to our nation. Their courage, resilience, and unwavering commitment to duty remind us the true cost of defending a democracy. This is a very personal topic for me. During my time in active duty, I served many years in Air Force rescue units with the sole mission to bring people back. We will always continue to search for and remember those who were affected and left behind. There are families in Colorado and across this nation that are still waiting for their loved ones to come home. As we pass this resolution, we reiterate our pledge to never forget them. We will honor their families who bear the burden of uncertainty, and we commit to bringing every missing hero home. Their sacrifice will not be in vain.
Representative Caldwell.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Like my colleague here, so this is the Appreciation Day, appreciation of our current service members, our veterans, and our POWs and our MIAs. And like my colleague here, I want to speak specifically to our missing in action members and let it be a reminder that just because a war is technically over, it's not over for everyone. As of right now, as of today, there are still 80,000 American service members missing in action and who never made it home. That's 80,000 families who hugged, who kissed, who sent their loved one off to a faraway land, and they never came home. That's 80,000 families that never got closure. And when you consider that most of our missing in action members are from the World War II, from Korea, and from Vietnam, a lot of those family members, even if they were kids, they've lived their entire life, and many aren't here anymore, and they never got that closure. And so let this be a reminder that we should never forget them. And we are still doing operations where we're trying to locate our missing members and bring them back. Just since the start of 2025, we've already located and identified 5 military members. 3 of them were from World War II, 2 of them were from the Korean War. And those 2 in the Korean War, and I met some Korean War veterans here today. The 2 that were located last month, they were in the Chosin Reservoir. If you're unfamiliar with the Battle of the Chosin Reservoir, you couldn't dream of a nightmare worse than what those young men had to go through. So with that, I just want to say it's important to do these resolutions every year until every single person is home. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Michelson-Jeannet.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's an honor to serve with you.
It is an honor to serve with you.
So today I'd like to talk about my son, who I talk about on Military Appreciation Day. He is a warrant officer in the United States Marine Corps, active duty. And we were just looking up when he got into his military service, and it was 2013, so just 3 years before I was elected to serve in office. And what was going on during those 3 years was he was in trouble. He was in trouble with the law. He got expelled from school, and he got put in front of a judge. And the judge said to him, "I see that you're pre-enlisted in the United States Marine Corps. If the United States Marine Corps will take you, we will dismiss all charges." And the United States Marine Corps agreed to take our son. and he is doing unbelievably. In the time that he has served, he has seen the world in good and in bad, and he has married and given us 2 grandbabies, and his wife, Jasmine, is a warrior. She went through her whole second pregnancy without her husband because he was on a MU. And it was challenging, and it was at times for her very scary, but she made it through. She gave birth to a healthy baby boy, and now we have our granddaughter and our grandson, thanks to our Marine and his wife. So to Ryan Janae, I say, oorah, and thank you for the service you provide to our country and the freedom you provide to our family.
Senator Rich.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My husband served in the Vietnam War, as did my brother. They both came home. And, sorry, nothing bad happened. Y'all can sit down. My stepson served for 24 years as a Black Hawk pilot, served 6 tours, and 3 of his years were with Special Forces. Fortunately, they all came home. But we know that the missing and the returned are in the hearts of their families and loved ones today and every day. Many still feel the pain of those missing from conflicts that fought generations ago, and we share the uncertainty that many of you endure. We also thank you for your advocacy and involvement in the work to recover our fallen and the missing. Please remember to thank the families and loved ones, those here today, and those who may be joining virtually. You have faced absence, you have faced uncertainty, and you have faced loss. We are inspired by your strength and that you have shown day in and day out. Thank you.
Thank you, members. Will the prime sponsors of House Joint Resolution 1011 for our Gold Star families please approach the podium? Again, a reminder to limit your remarks to 5 minutes. Who would like to go first? Representative Armagost.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. One thing when we're recognizing veterans or we're recognizing service members is it's very important to remember that we are currently in an all-volunteer military where those members signed up. They swore to defend our country with a check, a blank check, payable up to their life. What we sometimes forget or neglect to remember, at least, is their loved ones that they leave behind and their families, their spouses, their kids. And those Gold Star families, they deserve equal, if not more, recognition and honor for the loss that they've succumbed to for their loved one defending our country. So those men and women, those kids that are out there that have lost a loved one serving our country, it's very important to remember them. And if you don't know any of the Gold Star families in your community, it's important to get to know them. You can find them through your veteran service organizations in your community. We have 2 in my town of Berthoud, where we've named our VFW, the Specialist Gabriel David Conde Memorial, and the American Legion is the Staff Sergeant Justin Bauer Memorial. We've also named highways to remember them and honor them and their families that still live in Berthoud. I personally, my friend Craig here today, we've become very close with them and honoring them and making sure that their service members' legacy lives on, but we also need to remember the legacy of those family members that are left behind by those that have given the ultimate sacrifice for our country. Thank you.
Senator Ball.
Thank you. Thank you. Behind each of these resolutions are people. Behind Gold Star families, those people for me, are Katie Solis and her daughter Shannon. And behind Katie and Shannon is my friend, Sergeant First Class Chris Solis. I wear Chris's name on my arm every day. Less than 4,000 people in the entire history of the United States have been awarded the Medal of Honor. 19 have been awarded the Medal of Honor in Afghanistan, which is our longest war. 14 of those 19 were awarded posthumously. 60% of all of the Medal of Honors awarded have been awarded posthumously. Chris is one of those. If you want to know about the events of July 12th, 2018, you can look them up. There have been countless profiles, videos. Chris's family has been to the White House. Being a Medal of Honor recipient means that our nation officially considers you a hero. But as Katie says, she would give it all back. Because Katie's husband is dead. Shannon's father is dead. As I told my wife every time I deployed, the families have it harder than the soldiers. May this resolution commend those families. The greatest sacrifice is made by the families. Thank you.
Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. For Gold Star families, every day is a reminder of the loss that they have endured. Today gives us the opportunity to pause, reflect, and honor that loss. By remembering the sacrifices made by these families, we ensure that the legacy of their loved ones live on. As my colleagues have already stated, there are other ways, too, that we can still continue with honoring their legacy. We can send a message of support. We can get to know those members that are in our community that are Gold Star families. We can send them a message and let them know that we're here for them. We can participate in memorial events. Attending these events is a powerful way to show our solidarity and our gratitude. We can volunteer. Can volunteer or donate to military support organizations. Contributions will help those to fund scholarships, help them with mental health services, and other vital programs for these families. And lastly, let's remember to fly our American flag. Displaying the American flag is a simple but meaningful way to honor those who have given their lives in service and to show respect to our Gold Star families.
Representative Martinez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I won't repeat what has been said up here, but I will just say, you know, honoring the sacrifices that have been made from my little community in the Valley, dating back from all the major wars and conflicts that we've had. But just want to highlight a few for you. We had Claude Silva in the Vietnam War. We lost Sergeant Glenn Martinez and Sergeant Faith Hinckley in Operation Iraqi Freedom. And from my personal unit, Chad Wade from my unit in Afghanistan. And so just remember to keep those Gold Star families in your hearts and your prayers because every day is a day without their loved ones.
Thank you, members. Will the prime sponsors of House Joint Resolution 1012, USS Pueblo, please approach the podium? And please limit your remarks to 5 minutes. Representative Martinez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is also a truly a Southern Colorado initiative that we've been going on for a very long time in trying to get our boat that was taken back. But I also want to talk a lot about really why Pueblo is the home of the heroes. We have 4 Congressional Medal of Honor recipients that call Pueblo home. We have William Crawford, Carl Sitter, Raymond Jerry Murphy, and Drew Dix. In 1953, when President Eisenhower was presenting the Medal of Honor to Raymond Murphy, he said, "What is it? Something in the water out here in Pueblo?" He goes, "All you guys turned out to be heroes." and you know, really, that community has really embodied that name. And that recognition, and you know, really showing Southern Colorado what we've contributed to the military, and really showing what we're made of. And I absolutely agree with President Eisenhower.
Representative Luck.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And it is an honor to honor the men and women who have served so sacrificially with you today. I was raised by a man who served on the DMZ, the line between North Korea and South Korea. And he told stories of different dynamics that were present there and different risks that he took in trying to acquire particular pieces of intelligence. And I think of the 82 members of the USS Pueblo who were held in captivity for 11 months in North Korea, who did not know whether or not they would ever make it home. And I'm grateful that they made it home. And yet, the ship that they were on still remains in a museum as a point of pride for the North Koreans. And so it is my understanding that former Representative Danae Escar had brought forth this resolution in order that this body would constantly remember and constantly remind those in DC of that piece of Pueblo, of that piece of America that is in hands it should not be in. And so we thank you today for joining us in asking the US government to continue to pursue the return of that important ship, because there is a significance in it being gone. And so I would just ask, Madam Speaker, for one quick moment of silence, not only to remember all of the ones who have served, but to particularly contemplate what it is to be behind enemy lines, to not know what might happen, to have no sense of certainty, and yet to stand strong, to continue to believe that others care about them and would continue to fight for them. Thank you.
A moment of silence is granted. Thank you. Thank you, members. Will the prime sponsors of House Joint Resolution 1013, World War II Anniversary, please approach the podium? And please limit your remarks to 5 minutes. Who would like to begin? Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. During World War II, 250,000 Coloradans answered the call to service. Brave, young men and women who left their homes, their families, the comforts of daily life to face an uncertain future in the name of freedom. More than 3,500 never returned. Among those who served was my grandfather. He came home. A young man from West Virginia, he found himself stationed in Germany, witnessing the horrors of war, yet also discovering the wider world beyond the hills of his West Virginia childhood. Like so many of his generation, he was haunted by what he saw, but was also forever changed by the journey, a complicated legacy of grief and wonder, loss and transformation. I know that story is not unique. The greatest generation was full of young men and women who faced unimaginable suffering, yet carried forward with a sense of purpose. Here in Colorado, our state played a pivotal role in World War II. The legendary 10th Mountain Division trained in our Rockies, honing the skills that would later help break through Nazi defenses in Italy. The 157th Infantry Regiment of the Colorado National Guard fought for 511 days and liberated the Dacho concentration camp. These men, our grandfathers, great-grandfathers, community members, helped change the course of history. Colleagues, as we commemorate this 80th anniversary of World War II, let us not only honor those who fought, but also commit to supporting the veterans who still walk among us. The wounds of war don't heal when the fighting stops. Many who returned carried invisible scars, and it's our duty to ensure they receive the care, the respect, and the gratitude they deserve. So, as we celebrate the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II, to my grandfather, to every Coloradan who served, and to every family who waited, worried, and mourned, we honor you. We remember, and we say with full hearts, thank you to the greatest generation.
Representative Kelty.
Today we gather to remember one of the most defining moments in history, World War II. A conflict that shaped the world as we know it and cost the lives of millions. We honor the brave American men and women who stepped forward to defend freedom, facing unimaginable challenges on distant battlefields. Over 70 million people lost their lives during this war, including 3,586 Coloradans who never made it home. Their sacrifice echoes through history, reminding us of the price of peace and the value of liberty. Among those who answered the call were our brave Coloradans who served with unparalleled courage and dedication across all branches of the military. From the Navy to the Army, the Air Corps, Army Air Corps, Marines, Coast Guard, Coloradans who fought with honor, representing our state with pride. But we must also honor the families who stood behind them, the loved ones who supported them with unwavering strength and love, enduring the pain of separation and holding on to hope. These families were the silent strength that allowed our soldiers to fight on, and their sacrifices were equally profound. We owe them all a debt that can never be fully repaid. To the brave souls who fought in our Navy, Army, Air Corps, Marines, and Coast Guard, to the families who supported them, and to those who never returned, we say thank you. Your courage, your love, and your legacy will live on forever. Thank you.
Senator Liston.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, fellow members of the House and the Senate. It's my honor and privilege to speak on behalf of the World War II veterans. My father was a World War II veteran. Excuse me, I'm recovering from an illness, so don't stand up. No, please sit down. I just have anyways. My father was a member of the greatest generation. He got his wings 4 days before Pearl Harbor. They immediately had him flying up and down the California coast because at that time they thought the Japanese were going to invade. And he proceeded to, he was a B-24 pilot, so you wonder about this jacket. This was my father's bomber jacket. It's 85 years old, and I only wear it about once a year, and you can see it's pretty tight on me. But when you're flying in a B-24, I don't know how many of you have ever been in a B-24, much less even know what it is. I've been in a B-24, and they're hard to get into, but they're very difficult to get out of, believe me. Most people don't realize that the highest casualty rate on a percentage of the different various military branches, Army, Navy, Air Force, was in the Army Air Corps, Army Air Forces. There were more casualties between the European theater and the theater in the Pacific. I referenced when a plane was shot up, which they were, the amount of the aluminum, because that's what the planes were made out of, were aluminum, was just, it was that thick. And when they caught on fire, they were almost impossible to get out of. But my father was able to come back after the war. By the time he ended his career, and those of you who are pilots would appreciate this, he had 8,500 hours in an open-air cockpit for the most part. So I'm honored to pay homage to all of the veterans, whether it's the Army Air Forces, the Marines, the Army, and the Navy. They all served our country. We would not be here today had it not been for the sacrifices of our men and women who saved democracy for the world. So it's with that, and if you want to come up and see what it's like, this jacket weighs about, I don't know how many pounds, but anyways, it's something that I will always treasure. And I thank you, and God bless the veterans of World War II. Thank you.
Thank you, sponsors. Will the prime sponsors of House Joint Resolution 1014, Vietnam veterans, excuse me. Representative Carter, my apologies.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, I rise to speak regarding a Lieutenant Colonel John Mosley, Jr. I'm joined in the chamber by his grandson, Mr. Aaron Futrell. John Mosley Jr. persevered through adversity throughout his life. He was inspired by his father, John Mosley Sr. John Mosley Sr. was actually born into slavery and migrated west to Colorado during the 1980 silver boom, seeking opportunity. In that era of Jim Crow laws, Mr. John Mosley Sr. Obtained employment as a Pullman porter and had John Mosley Jr. Eventually in 1939, Lieutenant Colonel Mosley enrolled at what was called the Agricultural College of Colorado, now Colorado State. He became the first black letterman in the school's history. After college, he wanted to join the Army. He was denied. He eventually joined the Air Corps, and he became one of the first Tuskegee Airmen and trained as a bomber pilot and one of the first African Americans to do so. Lieutenant Colonel Mosley served for over 25 years on active and reserve duty, including during World War II, the Korean conflict, and the Vietnam War. He participated in the Berlin Airlift, achieved the rank of command pilot, and served both as a trainer and a mentor to not just pilots, but not just black pilots, but all pilots. In 2021, Congress actually passed a bill naming a VA facility after Lieutenant Colonel Mosley that is in Aurora right now. And on January 27th, 2025, that opened its doors in the Eastern Colorado healthcare system, and it serves over 100,000 veterans annually. And I got this from his grandson. His motto was, I had to fight in order to fight. So I rise for Lieutenant Colonel John Mosley, Jr.
Thank you, Representative Carter. Members, will the prime sponsors of House Joint Resolution 1014, Vietnam Veterans Military Appreciation, please approach the podium? Just a gentle reminder, you have 5 minutes to speak. Thank you. Representatives Richardson, Representative Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I want to express the gratitude for all the brave men and women who wore that uniform of our nation during the Vietnam War. These veterans answered the call to duty, facing challenges and sacrifices to protect our freedom and values. From the battlefields of Vietnam, they came home to ongoing conflict still reflected in our society today, but their courage and commitment remain unwavering. I want to honor their service, resilience, and dedication, and thank them for their sacrifice. I want to shout out 3 particular Vietnam veterans, Jerry Brockington Sr., Jimmy Brockington Sr., and Sergeant First Class William McLam, my father, who ran away from home at 17 joined the Army and provided for me and my family. And so when I tell you that I'm a third generation, we're now up to fourth, I'm a third generation Army veteran. This is one of the foundations that made me that.
Representative Richardson.
Morning, colleagues. My father was a Vietnam-era veteran, a reservist, was never called to deploy, but some of my earliest memories are sitting in the kitchen, little black and white TV on top of the refrigerator, watching what was being broadcast from Vietnam. And at the time, I didn't realize it, but certainly the concerns that raised in my mother's mind, that my father might be activated, that his unit might be deployed. And again, he was never called, but it is an honor today to pay tribute to a generation of warriors that shaped not only the military that many of us served in, but also helped make us the leaders we've had the opportunity to become. Our Vietnam veterans, those who fought in the jungles of Southeast Asia, left an indelible mark on those of us that followed in their footsteps. When I was a young cadet, it was Vietnam veterans who trained me. They didn't just teach tactics, they taught resilience. They shared hard-earned lessons that had been written in blood, sweat, and sacrifice. They showed us what it truly meant to lead, to put soldiers first, to stand firm under pressure, and to never leave a fallen comrade behind. When I was a young infantry lieutenant in Desert Storm, it was Vietnam veterans who led my battalion, brigade, and division. They were our senior officers and NCOs, and the ones who had seen war before and ensured that we were ready. Their experience, their wisdom, and their quiet strength were our guideposts in the chaos of combat. Years later, as a senior leader myself, leading young soldiers in post-9/11 Iraq, I carried their lessons forward. The thread of leadership, of sacrifice, of duty, it runs from Vietnam, through Desert Storm, through the battles we face today, and it'll move beyond. It's because of the veterans of Vietnam that our military stands ready, trained, and capable today. To the Vietnam veterans that are in the room or the gallery, and I know there are several, I honor you. I say this, you are the standard bearers, the mentors, the warriors who paved the way for all of us who served. Your legacy is alive in every soldier, airman, Marine, and sailor that serves today. We'll never forget what you endured, both on the field of battle and when you returned, and we will always honor the path that you carved. I want to say welcome home. I want to thank you for your service, and may God bless you all. Thank you.
Senator Catlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's an honor to serve with you.
It's an honor to serve with you, sir.
Thank you. Today was an opportunity for me to celebrate people that I grew up with, people that I thought the world of, and that grew up way too quick. They left high school graduation and went to Vietnam. Some of them came back, some of them didn't. Vietnam's had a big influence on my life. I'm not a veteran. I probably should have been, but because of the way things were at that time, I didn't end up having to go. But since I've been in the building, I've had an opportunity to help with the Vietnam Memorial, because that's the one that I'm probably the closest to. You know, growing up then, all of the turmoil that was going on, we hadn't known that before. You know, a lot of these soldiers came home, but they weren't welcomed home. They were cursed. They were cursed at. They had to come home in civilian clothes because they couldn't get through airports and those kind of things. Which is pretty sad for a country like this that honors our warriors, but they didn't get that honor. But one of the things that you can look at in their character is that they are the ones that are honoring the kids and the people that are coming home today, making sure they are welcomed as heroes, rather than somebody to be hated. You know, that says an awful lot about those individuals, men and women. They took that abuse, stopped it, and said, this won't happen again. That makes me proud of them. You know, one of the reasons that I want to do this today is that April 30th, 2025 says it's the 50th anniversary of the war being over. A great day. But that war has been raising in some of those people's minds and hearts for over 50 years. And we didn't know how to help them. We didn't know what to do. We're learning now to do some of the things that we can for these veterans that come home wounded in places that we can't see. I lived with a couple of them. You know, when I went to university, my roommates were all Vietnam veterans, every one of them. And some of the terror that lived in those men still bothers me today. They never talked about it. So, this is a simple way for me to say thank you. It doesn't come close. But one of the reasons that I want to celebrate Vietnam veterans is the fact that my wife's father served in Vietnam, shot down behind enemy lines, those kind of things, but came home and ended up raising her. And he did a heck of a job. So I want to honor him today because of the fact that he took me in to his family, told me things that he hadn't told them. I'm proud of him. Colonel James Hayes, rest in peace. And I have a couple of friends that I grew up with, and you remember I tried to get my friend's name in the record, Tom Boyland. An uncelebrated hero, believe me. He had the medals. Never once talked about him. I lost him last year. And the man that came home and had to go to the mountains in the San Juans of Colorado because he could not be around people. He took himself to the wilderness to try and heal who he was. He did heal. He came home. After living in the mountains like a mountain man for years. Came home and became a great friend of mine. A guy that would send me texts over here about how, how proud he was of me. Come on. How proud he was of me. That was who he was. George Yogi Lawrence. Somebody I'm awful proud to have known. And to you Vietnam veterans that are in this building or that watch the tape or that are on television, thank you. We'll never be able to say that enough. We can try to live the way you have lived, and that might be a living amends for us to say we understand you. We don't know what you feel. But we want you to know that we're very proud of you and love every one of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sponsors. Will the prime sponsors of House Joint Resolution 1015, Korean War, please approach the podium? You have 5 minutes to speak. Thank you. Representative Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. It's an honor to serve with you.
It's an honor to serve with you, sir.
Today we gather to honor the brave men and women who fought in the Korean War, a conflict that doesn't receive the recognition it deserves, but was no less significant. From 1950 to 1953, the Korean Peninsula was the backdrop of fierce battles and struggles for freedom. The war was a true test of courage, dedication, endurance, and sacrifice. It was a fight not just for South Korea's independence, but for the United States' global commitment to defend democracy and freedom against the threat of communism.
I want to start by saying I am so honored to present the first Colorado Korean War resolution. I was able to write it, and now we get to present it. It is truly an honor. It's been 75 years, and it's about time. Hundreds of thousands of men and women from the United States and its allies stood in the face of immense challenges, many in harsh conditions, without knowing when or if their efforts would bring peace. The soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines of our military answered the call, demonstrating unwavering resolve. Our American soldiers in the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines all played critical roles in this conflict. Whether on the front lines, in the air, or at sea, each branch of our military served with extraordinary dedication, and their bravery helped turn the tide of this pivotal war.
Over 1.7 million U.S. troops fought in the Korean War. The toll of this conflict was steep. More than 36,000 American lives were lost in just 3 years, and many thousands more were wounded. The sacrifices made were tremendous, and the pain and loss endured by the families across this nation cannot be measured. But through it all, these men and women demonstrated the strength, bravery, and resilience that define us as a great nation.
This resolution means so much to me. In a personal way, as among these veterans was my father, Leon Ross. He proudly served in the U.S. Army with the 45th Infantry. His courage, along with that of countless others across all branches, exemplifies the determination and commitment of those who served. They fought not for glory, but for the greater good, protecting their fellow soldiers, can't see, their families, and the freedom we hold dear. There is a monument in D.C. that depicts a famous photo, and that photo depicts my father. He's one of the members in that photo. So he will be forever memorialized in D.C., and I'm so grateful for that.
For those that don't know, this conflict is still ongoing. There was never an end of this war. There was only a ceasefire that was agreed upon, and which is why we have the demilitarized zone. That's why any military member that still serves in Korea and serves in the protection of the armistice still receives a Korean Defense Service Medal, myself included. And I think that should be an acknowledgement that this is the longest war that we have right now from the 1950s.
We would like to take a moment and honor two of our distinguished Korean War veteran guests today. In the corner, or in the side over here, we have Richard Dick Robinson, affectionately known as Dick Robinson, is a fourth-generation native to Denver. He graduated from Denver Public Schools, East High School, earned a bachelor's degree in agriculture from Colorado State University, and an honorary doctorate from CSU. He bravely served in South Korea from 1952 to 1953 as a second lieutenant and was commander of the 7th Infantry Division, 105th Field Artillery Battery. He was decorated the Silver Star, the Bronze Star, and the Purple Heart for acts of the highest distinguished bravery, honor, sacrifice, and incredible service. He is also the founder and CEO of Robinson Dairy and continues to honor and love his Colorado. Our other guest is Wayne Toby. He joined the U.S. Air Force in 1953 and was assigned as radio operator to the 1st Choran Beacon Squadron in South Korea, where he was transported to a remote radio radar site on the cliffs above the Yellow Sea. He was the only radio operator at the site, along with roughly a dozen other airmen who were assigned their functions. Their mission was to assist in providing radio radar assistance to precision bombing missions. They survived mostly on World War II sea rations and with occasional airdrops of food and supplies. One day, when no communication to the headquarters was available, he used Morse code to message, and he was instrumental in saving a fellow airman's life. Thank you for coming.
Senator Frizzell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. It is an honor to serve with you.
It's an honor to serve with you.
Thank you. And I'm very honored and privileged to be here to speak about the Korean War this morning. You know, I think everyone who visits our nation's capital has a war monument or memorial that they find to be most touching and inspirational. And for me, looking at the 19 steel faces of the soldiers who appear to be wading through rice paddies is the Korean War Memorial. That memorial brought the forgotten war to life for me. The inscription at that memorial says, "Our nation honors her sons and daughters who answered the call to defend a country they never knew and a people they never met." The same thing could be said for so many of the conflicts that the United States has entered. But I guarantee you that very few of the young men and women who went to Korea had any idea what the 38th parallel was about, its importance, but they sure knew afterwards. This was the first Cold War conflict after World War II. The United States came to the aid of South Korea and we found ourselves battling China and Russia, who were supporting the North Koreans. They call this the Forgotten War, but this war was not forgotten by the families and loved ones of the more than 3 million military and civilian personnel who were killed, half of which were civilians. It's astounding to think of that much blood lost in a matter of 3 years. It is an honor to be here to speak about the Korean War today and honor those who served.
Senator Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. It is an honor to serve with you.
It's an honor to serve with you.
I agree with my good colleague about that memorial. That's one of the most moving memorials. If you haven't seen it, I urge you to do so. It left an impact on me as well. As of the 25th of April, 2024, the total number of unaccounted for personnel for the Korean War stood at 7,478. Remains from this ongoing war are still being identified by the Korean War Identification Project. I've had many family members serve in the military, although not in the Korean War. But today I honor the service and sacrifice of all who have served and who are currently serving in the military. I'm thrilled to sponsor this resolution The Korean War is often called the Forgotten War, but we have not forgotten you.
Thank you, sponsors. Will the prime sponsors of House Joint Resolution 1016, Persian Gulf War service members, please approach the podium? You'll have 5 minutes to speak. Thank you.
You want to go first?
Representatives Hartsook and Camacho.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. It's an honor to serve with you.
It's an honor to serve with you, sir.
Today I rise to honor the brave men and women who served in the Persian Gulf War, my own family included, whose dedication and service exemplify the courage of our nation's armed forces. Persian Gulf War veterans traveled thousands of miles from their homes, families, to join an international effort to oppose authoritarianism and to defend our nation's value. Nearly 300 of these Americans never came home, and hundreds more left the Gulf War with lasting scars. Though the war was swift and decisive, its impacts endure. It is our duty to ensure that they receive the respect, support, care that they have earned. This generation of soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines not only partly inspired my own service, but played a pivotal role in shaping the military that I have known and continue to know for over 19 years. To all Persian Gulf veterans, thank you for your service. We honor you today and always.
Representative Hartsook.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Destiny and divine providence are interesting. Contrary to some, I did not serve in the Vietnam War, nor the Korean War. However, I did serve in the Persian Gulf War. I was stationed at Fort Carson. Now, we were downrange at Pinyon Canyon when Saddam invaded. Back then, we didn't have cell phones. You had newspapers, but we were out there for 30 days. We hadn't seen anything. We hadn't read anything. We didn't know anything, except that we were cold, tired, dirty, sweaty. We get back to Fort Carson after 30 days in the field to be handed orders that said, congratulations, you're deploying. Now, at that time I was enlisted, we're like, what the hell? Like, we just came out of the field. They're like, well, now you're going to war. So then we started training. And it was interesting. We went down with the infantry. They're like, you take all day, shoot all you want. And we did. Because remember, everybody sees the war now in hindsight that it was very successful. It went very quickly. The bombing campaign, everything rolled quickly. Well, in the preparation going up to it, we didn't know that. What we did know is that there were chemical weapons that were involved. They had a massive, standing over 1 million man army, and they had a lot of tanks. We were expecting the largest battle since World War II. Sit, please. No, don't stand. It'll make it worse. So, we deploy, and we get over there. If you know what mop gear is, that's those charcoal-filtered suits that you have to wear that are bloody well hot. And you have your boots, and you put on your pro mask. And if you've ever tried to run and shoot in a protective mask, that's pretty difficult. But that's what we did. Because we would have incoming Scud missiles all the time that you didn't know if there was a chemical weapon on board. You didn't know if it was a high detonation munitions. You just didn't know. And then came the order to attack. We hit that breach, and you could have made a freaking movie out of this because it was pouring rain. We have artillery rounds coming overhead. We have MLRS rockets coming overhead, and it is just pounding the berm over. And it looks like the 4th of July fireworks, but it's continuous. And we realized that we're rolling through that, knowing that on the other side is a massive battle with a lot of tanks and artillery pieces. And we did it anyway. A couple days later, as we rolled through, there were literally tens of thousands of
Iraqis that were dropping their weapons and surrendering. And then we had a whole different issue that we had to deal with. So you talk about, as I mentioned in the beginning, divine providence, that happens, and we were over there, and I'm like, okay. We finished up our tour. Little did I know that 14 years later, I'd be back in that same chunk of ground. Now, I have the honor today, happens to be our oldest son's birthday. He turns 20 and he's in the ROTC program, and he will continue to carry on the legacy of his mom and I, who both are military veterans. I served 26 years in multiple combat tours. He was born on this day while I was in tour in Iraq. Same place I had fought before in the Persian Gulf War. His name is Harrison Plevna Hartsuk. It's my honor for him, for my wife, Colonel Julia Plevna, to have his name entered in the books, and thank you for your service.
Senator Pelton Snyder. Senator Pelton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. The Gulf War had a profound effect on my life. Being in high school in Basalt, I sat in front of the TV in the evenings and watched what was going on in Desert Storm. And all I could think of, it's my turn. It's my turn to go. As soon as I graduated high school, I joined off to boot camp, off to the fleet. A lot of firsts in my life. A lot of firsts of fighting fires, shooting 50 caliber machine guns, being out in the middle of the ocean, which is a lot like being on the Eastern Plains. My command, the AFDM-7 Sustain, repaired 37 ships that returned from Desert Storm. 37. Many of them that were mined in the Gulf. Holes the size of that whole back wall over there, in the size of those ships that we repaired. Many firsts. First time you see a dead body, and you know it's serious. I was so fortunate this last summer to go to Washington, D.C. and take a group of 4-H kids to Washington, D.C. And let me just tell you, being stationed on the East Coast, I don't like going back. It's hot. And I took kids there, and one of them was my daughter. And I remember telling her how much it was important to me to go to the archives to see the Constitution, to get our picture taken in front of it. Because that's what I swore an oath to protect it for her. And she was so surprised to see those words and that parchment paper so faded. And she says, "Daddy, this is what you did." And I said, my job was to protect this document, and that was it. That was my job. And I did it for you. And I'm so fortunate to be able to have that moment in life that I got to see that. She was my age, or I was her age when I joined. And so I'm very fortunate to have that. And I just want to thank all the Gulf War veterans, the Persian Gulf War veterans in the room today for your service, because you guys made a profound effect on my life, and I appreciate it. I wouldn't be successful today if I didn't become an electrician, because the Navy trained me to do that. So thank you.
Senator Snyder.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, and thank you to all my co-sponsors here for their service. You know, it was considered now a very successful 42 coalition countries involved, 6 months of active duty. Most important thing after that was that we brought into the light and began to recognize that many of our service members come home with damage, physical damage, psychological damage from, you know, the burning oil fields and all that they witness and experience over there. And I mentioned Fort Carson. We've been on over a 30-year journey to really bring into the light and recognize how these folks come back and how we can help make them whole again. And I'm very proud that Colorado, and specifically El Paso County, has been a leader in that area. And again, just thank you for your service.
Thank you, sponsors. Will the prime sponsors of House Joint Resolution 1017, 10th Mountain Division, please approach the podium? Just a gentle reminder, you have 5 minutes to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, or madam. So thank you. I want to honor our 10th Mountain Division guests with us today. They're standing in the corner over here, Miss Sydney Mock, Miss Kelly Schmidt, and Mr. David Christie. Thank you for joining with us today. I'll start, and then you go. Okay. I'm going to go first. Thank you. I wanted us to highlight 2 of the 10th Mountain Division veterans today. There were so many stories that we could choose from that they're just amazing, amazing veterans. One of them is Hugh Evans. He was trained in Leadville, Colorado at Camp Hale. He participated in the Italian campaign during World War II and was part of an epic night climb of over 2,000 feet of vertical height during enemy gunfire. In later campaigns, he was awarded the Silver Star and the Purple Heart. He came back to a successful mining career and continued to support the 10th Mountain legacy into his senior years.
In early 1940s, a young man named Pete Siebert enlisted in the U.S. Army and became a member of the 10th Mountain Division. In February 1945, during the Italian campaign of World War II, Pete fought bravely in the division's legendary assault on Riva Ridge. Wounded in combat, he was evacuated and spent months recovering, determined to one day return to the mountains he so loved. After the war, Pete returned to Colorado, carrying with him a vision inspired by the majestic mountains he had come to know so well. In 1957, alongside local rancher Earl Eaton, Pete explored the area around Vail Mountain and envisioned creating a world-class ski resort. Their shared passion and determination led to the founding of Vail Ski Resort, which officially opened in December 1962.
People like Hugh and Pete are just a few examples of the amazing veterans that have served the 10th Mountain Division and have served our community as well. Because of these veterans, we have ski resorts. We have resource centers, we have outdoor recreation programs, and adaptive ski programs. We even have the company Nike to thank for them. Their legacy continues to permeate through Colorado and around the world. Next time you're enjoying a crisp winter day and you're skiing down a mountain, please think of our 10th Mountain Hut veterans.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Carson?
Thank you, Speaker Pro Tem. It's my honor to sponsor this resolution to pay tribute of the veterans of the 10th Mountain Division and their families and successors who've joined us here today. The 10th Mountain Division has a big place in Colorado. As you know, they trained at Camp Hale. It was actually the president of the National Ski Patrol who wrote to President Roosevelt and proposed the idea of the 10th Mountain Division, and it was based on Finland's heroic defense against the Soviet invasion. They were on skis, and the Soviets pretty much surrendered after 3 months into that invasion. In 2022, President Biden designated Camp Hale as a national monument. Many of those who served in the 10th Mountain Division were wounded and died in the Italian campaign. One of the more famous veterans of that was from our neighboring state of Kansas, longtime Senator Robert Dole. As you'll recall, he had a great sense of humor. He said, "I thought it mighty odd that a kid from Kansas would be assigned to the 10th Mountain Division. We Kansans don't ski much, but the Army didn't ask my opinion." Like many, he was severely wounded in the war, had shrapnel throughout his body throughout the rest of his life. And so it's my honor to pay tribute to all of those who served in the 10th Mountain Division, many of whom were wounded and died.
Thank you, members. We will now proceed to House Joint Resolution 1018, Latino and Latina veterans. Will the co-prime sponsors from both the House and the Senate please proceed to the well? Who would like to begin? Representative Barone.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First of all, I want to go ahead and thank every single man and woman in the armed forces. I'm honored here today to be asked to co-prime this resolution for our Latino soldiers. We have historically been known as fighters. We have been taught that from our families to be fighters and to fight for what we believe in. And it doesn't surprise me that we are a big contribution to our armed forces. This day is not just for the Latinos, it's all for everybody, but we do see the importance of our Latino people in the armed forces. I would like to go ahead and just mention 3 important people in my life that have served in the armed forces. My cousin, Marine Corporal Raul Chochon Barron. My childhood friend, Army Sergeant E5 Felix Ramirez. And my other childhood friend, Army Soldier Isaac Rodriguez Sr. Thank you.
Representative Martinez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, this is something that I don't know if a lot of you know, but this is something that has been well researched in recent years, and I'm happy to tell the story that Latino and Latinas that have been in the military have served in every single American conflict that we have had since the Revolutionary War. And we were the single most represented ethnicity in American conflicts that we've had. And that is truly an amazing thing. And that shows our dedication to service to this country, to this land, since its inception, since before its inception. And I think that needs to be recognized and that story needs to be told more. My family in itself has had members from World War II that have been on Iwo Jima all the way through me in Operation Iraqi Freedom. I want to honor those contributions, the service of our Latinos and our Latinas, brothers and sisters in arms through every single American conflict that we've had, and their dedication to this great country. Thank you.
Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, I am here to speak on behalf of the Latinas. I just want to tell a story about a 13-year-old girl from the east side of Pueblo, from Bessemer to be specific, who visits alongside her family. She goes at age 13 to the Air Force Academy and sees the guys doing their exercises and routines, and she says, she tells her uncle, I want to do that. And her uncle says, well, they don't let women in. And she says, watch me. Major General Linda Urrutia Varjal ends up being the first woman to graduate, the first Latina to graduate from the U.S. Air Force Academy. She then goes on, and I gotta read this because her credentials are exceptional and incredible. She ended up at the end of a 35-year career. She served as the right hand to 3 different secretaries of defense, the director of national intelligence, intelligence. She advised cabinet-level officials, intelligence officers, and national intelligence agencies, and Congress and the White House over the course of her career. And the fact that she is the first Latina and also the first Latina to achieve the rank of being a 2-star general in the Air Force. And she retired after her career and came back home to Colorado. And what I love about her is that that sort of watch me spirit continues as she speaks to young women here in Colorado and across the country. When she says she's talking to high school kids, she will tell them to take up space in whatever room they're invited to and to get good at being comfortable with being uncomfortable. You're sent on purpose and deserve to be in the room. Whether you look at me as a pathfinder or a trailblazer, unfortunately, the glass ceiling has not been broken. Usually, you're not the only woman, but you're usually the only Latina. But never apologize for being a woman or for being Hispanic. Look, we know with our Latino veterans here, particularly former Representative Ortiz, that Latino vets and service members can be some of the most knuckleheaded, hard-headed members of our armed services, of our general assemblies, of our communities, within our families, but we serve and we honor them because of the ways in which they serve with that bare-knuckled determination to uphold and to defend the Constitution. Thank you to all of the Latino and Latina veterans for all of your service and all of the ways in which you show up for our communities.
Thank you, members. Will the prime sponsors for House Joint Resolution 1019, Native American Veterans, please approach the well? You will have 5 minutes to speak. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I'm honored to bring this resolution forward to recognize and acknowledge the Native Americans who have fought in our armed forces. Native Americans have fought in our military in every conflict from the American Civil War to World War II to the war in Afghanistan, earning distinguished medals such as the Purple Heart, Bronze Star, Silver Star, Congressional Gold Medals, and Congressional Medal of Honor. Native Americans have always volunteered to join our nation's military and have been a part of some of the most heroic groups in our nation's history, such as the Code Talkers from World War II, who helped develop unbreakable codes to send across the Pacific during the war.
Representative Sukla.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colorado's own Southern Ute Indian tribe has had over 60 veterans who served in every major war from the World War I to the Persian Gulf War. Their commitment and sacrifice to our nation should be recognized. There is no successful and powerful United States military that we know of today without Native Americans stepping up for the caucus cause of freedom and for help and country during its most difficult times. Their sacrifice will never be forgotten. Now right here is from the heart. I didn't grow up with the Code Talkers. I grew up with their grandsons, and I grew up with their granddaughters. And I want to tell you, I am so humbled to be up here. I don't feel like I deserve this, to be up here and be able to talk about the first Americans where we live today. These people have such strong family values. You cannot believe the way that they treat each other. You cannot believe how the kids treat their elders and their grandparents with such respect and rural values. The Navajo Code Talkers Museum, one of them is in a Burger King in Kayenta, Arizona. Boy, I hope we could do a little better than that here in the future. I tell you, we wouldn't be here without them. I'm so honored, and now that I know how this works, we're gonna have a Navajo in this room next year. Thank you and for letting me do this.
Senator Ball.
Thank you. When I was 23, I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and I deployed to Afghanistan for the first time with 161 Cav, a unit that no longer exists. It was part of the 101st Airborne. And two of my first NCOs were Native. Sergeant Brandon Hunt of the Lumbee tribe in North Carolina, and now Sergeant First Class Dan Verone of the Micmac tribe, which hails from Nova Scotia, Maine, and New Brunswick. When then Sergeant Dan Verone redeployed from that deployment, he was awarded an eagle feather from his tribe, and I'm just gonna read part of what the plaque on his eagle feather says. It says, "When the world was new, the Creator made all the birds. He colored their feathers into a banquet of flowers. Of all the birds, our Creator chose the eagle to be the leader. The eagle flies the highest and sees the furthest of all the creatures." Tribe after tribe in this country have been sending their eagles, their leaders, and they've been the first ones to sign up in our armed forces. Brandon, I love serving with you. Verone, I think you're listening. Stop disrespecting your senior NCOs. You can keep talking back to your officers. It was wonderful to serve with you both, and I honor the legacy of all Native Americans who served in our armed forces. Thank you.
Thank you, members. Will the prime sponsors for House Joint Resolution 1020, African American veterans, please approach the podium? We ask that you limit your remarks to 5 minutes. Who would like to speak first? Representative English.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First, I would like to thank both active duty veterans, both active duty and veterans for their service to our country. We honor you and appreciate you. And I would like to thank my 4 brothers that served in the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force. And one is currently serving in the United States Army right now as a Master Sergeant. And I was honored that he joined me on our swear-in January 8th. The African American community takes great pride in the enduring legacies left by those who have served, and we continue to build upon the foundation of excellence, determination, and courage laid by those who came before, ensuring that their contributions are remembered and that their history serves as an inspiration for the next generation of service members and leaders. The Tuskegee Airmen, the first group of African-American military pilots in the United States Armed Forces during World War II, the Buffalo Soldiers, the Montfort Point Marines, and countless other African-American military units and individuals have left an indelible mark on the United States history, inspiring future generations and reshaping the armed forces. Today, we gather to honor the brave African-American veterans who have served our nation both past and present. Their sacrifices on the battlefield were matched only by their relentless fight for civil rights at home. From the Revolutionary War to the present day, these heroes fought not only for our freedom, but also for equality and justice. Their courage shattered barriers and inspired generations to strive for a better tomorrow. Let us remember the legacy of those like the Tuskegee Airmen and the countless unsung heroes who faced discrimination, yet stood tall in service to their country. As we reflect on their contributions, may we continue to champion the values they fought for: unity, equality, and respect for all. Together, we honor their memory by committing to a future where every voice can be heard. And as I close, I would like to briefly speak about the late Lieutenant Colonel Clarence Shivers, who stood as a towering figure in African-American military history, particularly in the context of the Tuskegee Airmen. Lieutenant Colonel Shivers, a distinguished member of the Tuskegee Airmen, served with bravery and distinction during World War II in the 32nd Fighter Group, which was known for its distinctive red-tailed aircraft, and played a significant role in escorting bombers during missions over Europe. His legacy is immortalized with a statue dedicated to him at the United States Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, symbolizing his remarkable contributions to the United States Air Force and the struggle for equality in military service. Mr. Shivers retired in 1969, having proven himself an integral part of the Tuskegee Airmen, a group of pioneering African-American pilots who shattered racial barriers in aviation, who has now passed on. But I would like to pause and acknowledge that we have his wife with us in the chambers this morning, Miss Peggy Shivers from Colorado Springs. Thank you.
Representative Carter.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm also here to acknowledge the profound contribution of our African American soldiers and heroes who have also served with that unwavering courage despite the same barriers from the Civil War to present. These service members proven their dedication time and time again, from the Buffalo Soldiers and the Harlem Hellfighters all the way to the Tuskegee Airmen. Understanding that, I just wanted to continue to celebrate their legacy, and I would like to read into the record my grandfather, Jim Brockington, World War II, my two uncles, Jerry Brockington Sr., Jimmy Brockington Sr., World War II, or Vietnam, Wayne McLand, my father, Vietnam, Kevin Hennington, Persian Gulf, and I mentioned in my last speech that I'm the third generation Army veteran. As of 2 months ago, Ariel Hennington, my baby cousin, just graduated naval training at Great Lakes Service Land. So, thank you.
Thank you. One moment, Representative. President Coleman or Senator Exum, did you want to speak?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just wanted to acknowledge a couple of gentlemen that was here earlier. They had to leave. Retired Captain Willie Brazell and retired Lieutenant Colonel Terrence Beasley. They're both keeping the Buffalo Soldiers' memory alive through their work in Colorado Springs. We have a Buffalo Soldier Memorial in Memorial Park, and also part of Highway 24 has been named after the Buffalo Soldiers because of the work they've been doing. So thank you.
Thank you. President Coleman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, how y'all doing? I'm just making sure we're here. Okay, good. I'd like to acknowledge Captain Ed Dwight, his wife Barbara Dwight, and their guest, Miss Pat Duncan. Mr. Ed Dwight was, let's give it up for him. Mr. Ed Dwight was a United States Air Force test pilot and the first black candidate to be an astronaut. At the urging of President Kennedy's administration, Mr. Dwight joined the program in 1961. And with the death of President Kennedy, his opportunities waned and he did not complete the program. A black candidate would not return to NASA until the 1980s. At 90 years young, last May, Mr. Dwight finally got to space and is the oldest person to do so. Please join me again in acknowledging Captain Ed Dwight. Madam Speaker, if I may, one final recognition. The good Representative Doctor from Colorado Springs also talked about the Tuskegee Airmen, but up until 2 days ago, there were 2 remaining Tuskegee Airmen alive. Lieutenant Colonel Harvey Stewart passed away 2 days ago at 100 years old. He was a very close friend of Lieutenant Colonel Harvey, who is the last living Tuskegee Airman. Lieutenant Colonel James Harvey III is 102 years old. Now, Madam Speaker, again, I'm happy to pay the fine, but he wasn't able to be here today. He normally joins us on the floor, and we asked that if it's all right, if y'all turn around and just look at the camera and wave and say, Lieutenant Colonel James Harvey III, we are excited, we acknowledge you. Thank you so much for your service, and thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. President. Representative Ricks? Thank you. Members, to conclude our appreciation today, Representatives Armagost and Martinez want to share some closing words. Representative Martinez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is truly an honor to do this every year since I've been in the General Assembly, and being able to honor veterans of the past, veterans that are of wars past and wars that are current. And I think just being able to do this recognition really is meaningful to me, and I hope that it's meaningful to you. And also for all of our veterans that we've invited that are not members of the General Assembly, and being able to come and being able to be honored and recognized is truly a great experience, and we want to continue to see this grow year after year. So thank you.
Representative Armagost.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to obviously echo my colleagues' sentiments. The other thing, in standing up here next to my co-chair in the Veterans Caucus, the Veterans Caucus is here to help fight for our veterans and our service members that are going to be veterans. Even those currently serving, we want to make sure that we are honoring those in the best way that we can in legislation in this building, and we hope to continue that. But, did you have something else?
Representative Martinez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I would be remiss at the person that has pushed this and continued to make this happen and continue to make sure that this event is as good as it can be. I would like to recognize the Honorable David Ortiz in the corner. Without his hard work and dedication, we would not be having this, and I would just want to honor all of his hard work and commitment to this institution.
Representative Armagost.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So in closing, with everyone that's here, knowing that we are here to help work with the Department of Military and Veteran Affairs in Colorado to help our veterans and service members in Colorado, as well as the family members, I wanted to take one last opportunity to recognize all of our Gold Star families, our service members and veterans that are not only in the legislature, and our guests. Please stand and be recognized one last time, and thank you for coming. Thank you for your service.
Thank you all. That concludes our Military Appreciation Day resolutions. We will stand in a 5-minute recess before the House returns to work. Members, we are going to begin third reading. I will invite everybody to take their seat. The House will come back to order. Members, the next order of business is third reading. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1027.
House Bill 1027 by Representatives Gilchrist and Brown, also Senator Doherty, concerning modifications to statutes governing disease control.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1027 on third reading and final passage.
Representative Bradley.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm going to come up once again because yesterday we were given 4 different amendments, and there was an exemption for out-of-state kids coming in for camps, but not one for colleges. So I'm just wondering what we're going to do about vaccination records for the hundreds or tens of thousands of kids that come into our state from other states. L010, it's except as provided in section 254903, a student shall not attend any college or university in the state of Colorado on or after the date specified. L009 defines the official certificate of immunization. Official certificate of immunization means one of the following forms of documentation that includes the dates and types of immunizations administered to a student. It goes on and on to talk about what that official certificate is. It's the form created and maintained by the Department of Public Health and Environment. And then L001 was regarding camps. So in lieu of an official certificate or immunization, a licensed children's residential camp may maintain on file an out-of-state immunization record for an out-of-state camper attending the residential camp. So what are we doing about the tens of thousands of university students coming to our state to attend all the great colleges we have here? So the problem is that it requires a university or college student to produce an immunization record on an official form created and maintained by CDPHE, or a copy of a file from the immunization tracking system, which is maintained by CDPHE. There's no provision for an out-of-state university or college student to produce an immunization record from another state, but we will let a camper use an out-of-state immunization record. Go back to L001. Again, is the Senate going to clean this up? This is bill number 3 that the Senate is going to clean up. They got their work cut out for them because the House just keeps pushing bills to the Senate to make sure they can clean up the dirty work. I don't understand. I didn't come here to represent my district to push bills through and to push 4 amendments through that don't take care of the problems that are seen in this already very problematic bill. I said it yesterday, we, during the COVID emergency, shut down 38% of businesses. And on top of that, we put our kids in social isolation to the point where we declared a mental health emergency for children because 8-year-olds were committing suicide for that social isolation. We've now removed the GERC, a 19-member committee that provides critical oversight to our governor and CDPHE, and we're putting everything in the hands of 2 people. And the CDPHE shut down public testimony, so people from my district couldn't even talk about what was happening in their districts. And now we have said, rural Colorado, you don't know how to react to a public emergency, and urban Colorado doesn't know how to, so the state is going to regulate that. Even though we come down here and talk about local control when it benefits the bills that we're on, we don't want local control for certain other things. And it's just appalling to me. I didn't stand up to represent HD 39 to have local control completely taken from my district. They handled the pandemic beautifully and well, and I think that's probably why a lot of people moved to Douglas County and are moving out of some of the other counties. We should have a say in what is happening when we shut down businesses and tell people they can't go to churches and have the right to assemble. And this bill takes away all of that control for the local authorities that know how to run their counties. I am an absolute no vote on this bill. Thank you.
Representative DeGraff.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The CDPHE reference reminded me that we just killed 1.8 million chickens. Today is a difficult day because it's a conflicting day. I'm honored to have served over 30 years in the military, and I'm humbled at the service and hardship of servicemen and women and their families in their fight to secure the blessings of liberty. I'm troubled to watch these blessings be legislated away. With every vote, we're either underpinning or undermining that sacred parchment which sealed the fate of those who pledged their lives, fortunes, and sacred honor. We're either advancing towards liberty or away, and for all its good intentions, this bill is strongly away. I think we need to be very careful when we tread on the liberties of parents, families, children. This is like I said, there's a lot of good intentions in this bill, and there's a lot of hell at the end of it. And we will pay for this bill. So will the people of Colorado.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1027 on 3rd reading and final passage. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Brooks, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Brooks votes no. Representative Rutenell, that'll be a $5 fine. And we'll give the same gift to Representative Sukla. He is excused. With 42 aye, 20 no, and 3 excused, House Bill 1027 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1009.
House Bill 1009 by Representatives Morrow and Joseph, also Senator Cutter, concerning a vegetative fuel mitigation program for a district providing fire protection services.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1009 on 3rd reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1009 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Brooks, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Brooks votes no. Please close the machine. With 42 aye, 20 no, and 3 excused, House Bill 1009 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1138.
House Bill 1138 by Representatives Lukens and Puglisi, also Senators Kirkmeyer and Doherty, concerning evidentiary requirements to protect victims of sexual misconduct in civil suits.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1138 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1138 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Brooks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Brooks votes yes. Please close the machine. With 60 aye, 2 no, and 3 excused, House Bill 1138 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that the following bills be made special orders on February 7th, 2025 at 11:45 a.m. House Bill 1129, House Bill 1002, and House Bill 1152.
Seeing no objection, the bills listed by the Majority Leader will be made special orders on Friday, February 7th at 11:45 a.m. Representative Woodrow. Members, you have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, Representative Woodrow will take the chair.
Explain that. Explain that, and I got the committee report. Should I have handed these out?
The committee will come to order. With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title unless there is a request for reading a bill at length. Committee reports are printed and in your bill folders. Floor amendments will be shown on the screen and on your iPads. Bills will be laid over upon motion of the Majority Leader, and the coat rule is relaxed. Mr. Shebel, please read the title of House Bill 1129.
House Bill 1129 by Representatives Ryden and Garcia, also Senator Amabile, concerning a peer-to-peer behavioral health services program for offenders nearing release from a correctional facility.
Representative Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 251129 on second reading, and I also move the Judiciary Committee report.
To the Judiciary report.
Members, in Judiciary, we did a technical cleanup on how we were explaining what peer-to-peer behavioral health programs are and who peer-to-peer workers are.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on the Judiciary report? Seeing none, members, the question before us is the adoption of the Judiciary report. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Judiciary report is passed. To the bill, Representative Ryden.
Thank you, House members. Currently, the Department of Corrections has a current law for reentering citizens, and in that, what is currently a grant program, there are qualifying services that are allowable. Those include mental health and behavioral health support, medication treatment, some housing. Again, this is preparing people to reenter, parole, or when they're finishing with their sentences, or in employment and services or training programs. Absent from what is currently allowed is peer-to-peer support services. Peers are people with lived experience in mental illness, mental health, and recovery. So that is what this bill does. It'll creates one more allowable service under this current provision. It also creates a credentialing process for those peers. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and that is important to have a credentialing, to have training so that you are delivering care ethically. This is a vulnerable population that we're working with, and we want to make sure that those who are getting those peer services aren't doing anything unethical and are very mindful of those with perhaps recovery issues, those with mental illness, and those who might be recovering from substance use. There were some concerns in committee that were raised that we were expanding this program. I want to make it clear that that is not the intent in any way. There is a zero fiscal note, and there is a revised fiscal note that clears up any ambiguity that some of my colleagues might have experienced from Judiciary. That is it. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Representative Caldwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just want to say thank you to the sponsors. So whenever I'm a no vote, but I'm going to change it, I like to come up and give an explanation to everyone, especially my colleagues here. So as a member of Judiciary, we heard the bill, and as one of the sponsors had mentioned, I did have concerns on it, and it was the way the fiscal note was written. It said that within this budget year, there would be no fiscal note. However, the language kind of assumed that the program would expand in following years, which then would be a fiscal note the following year, and so on and so forth. And I just really want to commend the sponsors for hearing out the concerns and why we were no votes, and then coming back to us and saying, listen, we got it clarified. There's a new fiscal note to it. This allows this program to happen, which is, I think, a great program. They allow it to happen within the department's budget each year. So we're not going to see a fiscal note next year and then the next year and after that. So I really appreciate the sponsors, and I will be a yes vote. So thank you very much.
Any further discussion on House Bill 1129? Members, seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1129. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. 1129 is passed. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title of House Bill 1002.
House Bill 1002 by Representatives Brown and Gilchrist, also Senators Amable and Pelton B, concerning the determination of health benefits coverage for mental health services.
Representative Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1002 and the committee report.
Thank you. To the Health and Human Services Committee report. Representative Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the Health and Human Services Committee, we made a couple of amendments. We clarified some language related to social work and psychiatric nursing. We also added a definition of utilization review criteria. My Republican colleagues will be excited that the act includes a petition clause. And at this point, I will ask, I have two amendments that I will run. I move L012 to the Health and Human Services Committee report and ask that it be properly displayed.
That is a proper motion. Please allow us to display.
Okay.
To the amendment. L012.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This amendment specifically clarifies that this bill does not expand the requirements for coverage under what's called our state essential health benefits benchmark plan. So this bill is really about the criteria by which we are making coverage determinations, not about which benefits are covered or not. And we ask for an aye vote on this particular amendment.
Any further discussion on Amendment L012? Seeing none, members, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L012. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. L012 is passed. Back to the committee report, Representative Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L014 to the Health and Human Services Committee report and ask that it be properly displayed.
L014 has been moved and it will be displayed. Representative Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This amendment, this amendment is based on additional conversations with carriers and with stakeholders and with the Division of Insurance. This particular language, it gives the Division of Insurance the appropriate authority to enforce the rules, to adopt rules as necessary to establish particular compliance requirements in compliance with this particular bill, and we ask for an aye vote on this amendment.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L014? Seeing none, members, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L014. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. L014 is passed. Back to the committee report, Representative Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We ask for an aye on the committee report.
Members, is there any further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the committee report as amended. All in favor say aye. All opposed no. The ayes have it. The committee report as amended is passed. To the bill, Representative Gilchrist.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're facing a crisis in the state around mental health access and coverage. I've seen this through my professional lens and many years working in child welfare. The impact of the lack of mental health services for kids is undeniable. Data shows that children have better long-term outcomes when they get needed services and interventions early, but they can't access those if services aren't covered by insurance or they can't find a provider. On a personal level, I've experienced the difficulty and frustration of trying to navigate the mental health care system to get my own children the services they need. When we could find a provider that both met the needs of our child and had openings, they were out of network, forcing us to pay very expensive out-of-pocket costs. When we tried to find an in-network provider that took our private insurance, it took months and months. This should happen to no family. This should happen to no child. This is why this bill is so important. We need clarity on why insurance companies are denying coverage, and we need to set standards of practice like we have for physical health care. We urge an aye vote to bring more transparency to our healthcare system.
Representative Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It is because of the stories like my co-prime sponsor has shared, and I'm so honored to be able to do this bill with her and to work on this issue, that we're bringing this bill today, which passed unanimously out of the House and Health and Human Services Committee, to require that health insurance companies offer more transparency into their decision-making when it comes to Coloradans' behavioral health needs. Despite paying monthly premiums, Coloradans are often denied the behavioral health care that they need because of medical necessity determinations that insurance carriers make based on criteria that's proprietary, not transparent, and that can be adjusted to meet the needs of the companies. We heard clear examples of this in committee about how these standards result in high levels of denied care, hurting families, and forcing providers to spend hours each day on the phone with insurance companies to figure out why care is being denied. This bipartisan bill allows carriers to, our bipartisan bill still allows carriers to deny care, but they're required to make decisions based on standards that are transparent, evidence-based, and developed by nonprofit clinical organizations. At this time, I have two more amendments. I move L008 to House Bill 1002 and ask that it be properly displayed.
It's a proper motion. L008 will be displayed. Give us a moment. Representative Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill, based on conversations that we have had, this strikes specific criteria that are written into the bill that we realize are no longer necessary, and so we ask for an aye vote on this amendment.
Any further discussion on Amendment L008? Seeing none, members, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L008. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. L008 is adopted. Back to the bill. Representative Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L013 to House Bill 10002 and ask that it be properly displayed.
L013 has been moved and displayed. Representative Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This set of criteria that we are laying out in this particular amendment indicates the specific requirements that nonprofit evidence-based criteria must meet in order to be used by a health insurance carrier, and we'd ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L013? Seeing none, members, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L013. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. L013 passes. Back to the bill. Representative Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We ask for an aye vote on 1002.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Johnston.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise in strong support of HB 1002 and am proud to be the first co-sponsor on this bill. Access to behavioral health services is important for all Coloradans, and it's time we recognize mental and behavioral health as just as important as physical health. And we give credit in it's being treated as just as crucial. If you pay your premium every month and you need care, you should be able to access it. And if you are denied care, the reason should be transparent and based on best practices. I appreciate this thoughtful policy to ensure that Coloradans in my communities, in rural Colorado, and in communities across the state are able to access care that they pay for. I urge a yes vote.
Representative Taggart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's an honor to serve with you.
It is an honor to serve with you.
I want to sincerely thank the sponsors for this bill. And if you'll bear with me for a second, I'll walk you through one of the major reasons for this. I got a phone call 2 weeks before we ended last May from a gentleman who used to be the majority leader in this House. And typical of this individual, it was a one-liner. It said, "Rick, I expect you to get right in the middle of saving the only behavioral health mental hospital in Western Colorado. The only one." I immediately pulled together a group of 75 concerned citizens on the Western Slope, and we talked about this particular hospital and what we could do to save it. I spent my entire interim period, all the way through till when I came back here for the JBC, working on a solution. And I have to say we've made real progress when we have new leadership, and I think it's going to make it, but there's still some significant barriers. One of the most serious barriers has been to behavioral health centers, whether it's a hospital or a clinic, is the denial of insurance for people that desperately need help. And what ends up happening? Either they're turned away, which in the case of my hospital, that wasn't the case, or it ends up being uncompensated care, which our hospitals just cannot afford at this juncture. So when I saw this bill a few days ago, I kind of went, hooray. This is a major step in the right direction. As a longtime CEO of business, you folks might not expect me to come down on insurance carriers, but in this particular case, somebody needs to do that. And again, I sincerely thank the sponsors for this bill.
Any further discussion on House Bill 1002? Representative Bradley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I want to thank the bill sponsors for bringing this bill forward. Again, though, 3 amendments on the floor. Come on, guys. Like, if you're still working with stakeholders, can we just pause? Can we pause instead of trying to read multi-page amendments on the House floor? I just am asking for better governance than that. We did it in a committee. We're doing it again now. I like the preface of this bill, and to my caucus over here, when do we stop meddling in contract work between insurers and insurance carriers? That seems like something the AG's office should be doing, or the Division of Insurance. When we start getting involved in private contracts, even though they're being breached, I get it. I'm a healthcare worker. I'm sick of my patients not being authorized. I just don't believe that this is the body that we do it in. And so with that, you guys do what you want, but I just wanted to bring that forward for my Republican caucus, because we stand for limited government and we stand for free markets. And if we're going to get involved in the private insurance industry and what they are and are not doing, instead of letting the courts or the DOI or the AG's office figure it out, then I think that we might need to look at our platform better. Thank you.
Any further discussion on 1002? Representative Barone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm here to ask for a yes vote on HB 1002. I see firsthand in the challenges faced by my constituents in rural communities when seeking to access behavioral health care. It is hard enough to find providers and services in my communities. So if you are actually able to find care and it is denied, there are often no other options available. The approach in HB 1002 is fair. So to quote my friend, former minority leader from Wellington, good bill, vote yes.
Assistant Minority Leader Winter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I travel my district, like I say, about 25,000 miles every interim, and one thing that's a huge issue in rural Colorado is mental health. When I spoke yesterday, especially our youth, we have a higher youth suicide rate in rural Colorado. And the reason that mental health is huge for rural Colorado is we're a proud people. And a lot of times you won't be able to get people to show up to a clinic because they don't want their truck seen outside, because to them it's a knock in their armor. So I got on and co-sponsored this bill early in its introduction because I see those challenges firsthand faced by the constituents in my rural communities, especially when they're seeking access to behavioral health. We've done telehealth. We've tried to tackle this many ways. It's hard to find providers and services in my communities. So if you're actually able to find that care and it is denied, there's no other options available. That's a long ways to travel. And that's another thing that we face in rural Colorado, a barrier. We talk all the time about food deserts and medical health deserts. Well, some of those biggest deserts are in rural Colorado. I think the approach to this bill, even though I don't think it's perfect, is fair, and I would ask for a yes vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1002? Seeing none, members, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1002 as amended. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. 1002 as amended is passed. Mr. Schiebel, please read the bill of House Bill 1152.
House Bill 1152 by Representatives Garcia Sander and Lukens, also Senators Marchman and Kirkmeyer, concerning noncompliance with requirements regarding technology accessibility for persons with disabilities when the noncompliance is caused by a contractor.
Representative Lukens.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1152.
Representative Lukens.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. House Bill 1152 is a common sense solution that ensures accountability by requiring vendors to comply with accessibility standards and assume responsibility for any violations. This protects school districts from unjust fines and ensures that vendors who provide digital services meet their legal obligations. We ask for a yes vote.
Any further discussion? Representative Garcia Sander.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On behalf of many of our rural school districts who cannot afford the fines that are impending upon enactment of 1110 this year, please, I encourage and I vote to help save those school districts money. Thank you.
Representative Caldwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm here to speak in favor of this bill. Just something I said in committee in closing that I feel the urge to point out now is that putting the onus on the contractors instead of the school district is the intent of the bill and what the bill will do. But I have to point out that this was a bill passed in 2021 to do this originally, to make it accessible. And this bill that we're debating here is a bill to fix that 2021 bill that hasn't even went into effect yet. So this is a bill to fix legislation that was passed in this House in 2021 that hasn't even went into effect yet. I just feel the need to point that out. And I appreciate it, and I will be an aye vote. Thank you.
Any further discussion on House Bill 1152? Seeing none, members, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1152. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. 1152 is passed. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
You have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, the committee will rise and report.
The House will come back to order. Mr. Schiebel, please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Madam Speaker, your Committee of the Whole begs leave to report as under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof and making the following recommendations thereon. House Bill 1002 is amended, 1129 is amended, and 1152 passed on second reading, ordered, engrossed, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Representative Woodrow. Members, you have heard the motion. There are no amendments at the desk. The motion before us is the adoption of the report of the Committee of the Whole. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Brooks, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Brooks votes no. Representatives Bottoms, Bradfield, Gonzalez, Hamrick, Leader, Taggart. Okay, we will excuse Bradfield, Gonzalez, and Hamrick. What do you think? 4, 5? All right. $5 fines, Bradfield, Gonzalez, and Hamrick. Please close the machine. With 42 ayes, 17 no, and 6 excused, the report of the Committee of the Whole is adopted. Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move to lay over the balance of the calendar till Monday, February 10th, 2025.
Seeing no objection, the balance of the calendar is laid over until Monday, February 10th. Announcements and introductions. I'll get us started. Seriously, Telluride, 10 inches of fresh powder. Let's go ski. All right. Representative Luck.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We have reached that point in session where bills start to die, conversations get hard, tensions start to flare, and offenses start to take root. And so I encourage everyone to be generous in extending and seeking forgiveness where necessary and being gracious to each other, always remembering that you are amazing and loved, worthy and adored. And at least for me, I can say I genuinely can't wait to see you again soon.
Thank you, Representative. AML Bacon. And Representative Hartsook.
Thank you, members. Before you go, we just wanted to put something on your radar and your calendar. Every year, we started to celebrate particular seasons with food. Towards the end of the month is entering the Mardi Gras season, the Lenten season, so, get all your sins out. Nobody's listening. Okay, so with that, we'd like to open it up to see if anybody would be interested in joining us for a potluck. I bring gumbo and shrimp creole every year. Rep. Hartsook.
Representative Hartsook.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And so for all the chatter that's going on out there, listen up, people. Look, we're going to have food in 3 weeks. We usually do a big cookout outside. You can bring in potluck. We can do all kinds of things. And so it's our job. Thank you. It's our job. This is your job. This is our job. We're going to have fun that day. So on the 28th, put it on your calendar that this Friday, 3 weeks from today, is when we're going to have some. Shush. We're going to have food. We're going to have a great time. And there'll be camaraderie there as we roll into that weekend. So if you've got a special dish that you like, you can bring it in. You can cook it here. You can buy it at the grocery store. But whatever, that's what we'll be doing. So we're going to create a sign-up sheet. We'll get it out to you, but we want to put it on you like my great rep here from Denver, and we're always having fun in education. This is an education moment. Put it on your calendars and start those wheels turning and figure out what we're going to have here in 3 weeks.
AML Bacon.
There are only 2 acceptable types of hot sauce. I'm just letting you know now.
Ooh, it's a throwdown.
Thank you. All right, thanks.
Members, thank you. There is nothing like a good meal in the chamber. We appreciate it.
You can sign up too.
Great. Do I have any more announcements? It appears not. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I do have an announcement. I'd like to formally announce that the House will be closed on Monday, February 17th, 2025, in observance of President's Day. With that, Madam Speaker, I move the House stand in recess until later today.
The House will stand in recess until later today.